Angie, thank you. And thank you to the 4 panellists that we have here today. We might need a couple of glasses up here because it is warm with these lights. And if you've just rushed in, it's probably going to be tricky. So I wanted to... Sorry? What? Or maybe wine. I'm okay with water. Maybe it will turn to wine. I just want to thank everybody for joining us here today. It's amazing to see such a packed room. Like when I had to queue to get through the door, and that wasn't just because people were trying to come the other way, it was because it was genuinely packed in here. So well done to everybody for staying the course of the week and being here. We're going to talk about lots of things today. It might seem a bit disjointed at times, but we've got 4 amazing panellists to talk about things. We're going to talk about inclusive innovation, economic empowerment, and the equality moonshot. But let me introduce myself and then the panellists. So my name is Charlotte West. I head up comms for a company called Lenovo, a big global tech company. I also head up, or I'm a board director of our Lenovo Foundation, which is focused on STEM education for underrepresented communities, many of which are women in areas around the world that are perhaps very marginalised. But you're not here to talk or listen to me. You're here to hear from these 4 wonderful ladies. So on my left, and wish me luck with all my pronunciation. Okay, I do speak German, so let's see. So Dr. Lea Sonderegger, thank you. Who's a member of the management board for SWAROVSKI, and she's based not very far from here, so she's made the day trip. We've got Kriti Sharma, who's Chief Product Officer for Legal Tech at Thomson Reuters. She's also based, I think, in the same country as me, the UK. We've got Sara Sabry with the beautiful green dress, who is an astronaut and founder of the Deep Space Initiative. I'm not sure any of us can compete with that. And then we've got Angie Gifford on the end, who's Vice President for Meta in EMEA. And you're based in Germany as well, aren't you?
Munich, yes.
Munich, okay, good. So you can judge my German pronunciation as well.
Not too bad.
As I said, we've got a ton to talk about, and I'm sure this is probably the most women I've seen in one place in Davos so far, so this is fantastic for a start. Well done, everyone. Well done for being here and being part of this. I think all of us would agree that there's been plenty of progress made over the last few years, but perhaps not as fast as any of us would like, and there's not as much change, dramatic change, as any of us would like. So there is still plenty to do. And of course, the theme this week, almost every shop on the promenade and every panel and every debate has been around AI. And as we think about technology and women's representation in technology roles, AI's, if we're underrepresented in that sector, then it's going to be an issue for the whole world, not just us as women. So I want to start with 3 data points before I come to the questions, 2 serious and maybe 1 more amusing. First one is that 50% of women in tech roles leave those tech roles by the age of 35. That's a McKinsey stat from a report in 2022. The second stat is that the proportion of women working in tech is smaller now than it was in 1984. Okay, the industry has got much bigger, of course, so there are more women overall, but as a percentage, it's smaller than 1984. And then maybe the more amusing one that I like to reel out just to give perspective is that until 2018, which was only 5 years ago, there were more CEOs named John in the S&P 500 than there were women CEOs. And I know we're not here to talk about women CEOs, but I always think that that was 2018. That was just before the pandemic. It's terrifying. So anyway, we're going to get to the questions first, and I realise I need to actually have the microphone in front of my mouth. And that's the closing. We don't want that, do we? So Angie, I'm going to start with you and just talk about your role at SWAROVSKI, of course. But you've got a huge amount of experience in global digital business, IT, data, and AI. And I know you've been thinking a lot about strategies to make it more inclusive for women in those kind of roles and an inclusive workplace. So we'd love to hear from you, from some of the things that you've done in your role, particularly given your seniority within the organisation, to drive some change. And I'm going to hand this microphone to you.
Thank you so much. Thanks, Charlotte. And I loved the reactions in the room. Last year, we talked a lot about impact. I think Rupert, Reshma, you made a huge impact. And somebody said before, it's about numbers. Just count the people in the room here. It's significantly more, and you guys all make an impact. I'm fully energized by you, because you made lots of cool comments. I'm also energized by your interesting conversation I had today when I had a coffee. There was a very traditional man, and he asked me, why are you here? And then we started talking about, equality, and he was at the beginning like, no, I don't like these super frustrated women, they talk about equality. I said, look, I'm not frustrated. I love what I do. I love meeting all these wonderful women here, and that energizes me. I met a lot of old colleagues from SWAROVSKI, people I met last year. So that's where we make the impact. But now to your question, right? I'm the other way around, Charlotte. I joined IT and tech and data after 35. Okay. So I come from commercial, from e-commerce, from digital business, and in 2022 I took over the Chief Digital Officer and Chief Information Officer role in SWAROVSKI. I have a lot of wonderful men that are in my team, but maybe a little bit too many, even though I love men. And that's exactly what I try to do, is bringing in role models, right? And I think there are two ways to do that. One way is to create an atmosphere of trust. People feel, men and particularly women, feel very healthy in an environment of trust where everybody can be like he or she is. And SWAROVSKI is a culture of inclusivity, of celebrating individuality. And then the second thing is that we have to develop, and somebody said it before at the panel, we have to develop women into leadership roles, right? And I give you one story of Magdalena. Magdalena is a wonderful leader in my IT part of the organization. She started in marketing and she developed into an IT leadership role. We asked Magdalena at the beginning, do you want to join the role? And she said, no, I'm not sure if I can do that. And then we worked with her, we accompanied her. And today she's one of our best leaders there. And why is she so good? Because she can connect the tech world. She can talk to the other functions, right? And I believe that's also an advantage that women sometimes have because they are so
probably
good
a good communicator. She came from marketing.
Exactly. So to answer your question, short, create a culture of trust and develop role models and tell stories about it.
Thank you. Angie, I'm just going to come to you now to add on to that, because I know you're, obviously got a very senior role within Meta, within EMEA, and will be overseeing teams of very diverse teams, I am sure. Just to add on to what Leah said about building inclusive teams.
So I think it's super, super important for Meta that we develop product that addresses the audience that we cater, and we cater to all kinds of audiences. And it's not only gender, there are other, of course, consumers and people that use our platform. And it's super important that we have diverse teams when we develop the products, that they are being successful. And I have a good example from my very, very far away ages at Microsoft. I was 21 years in Microsoft. The most successful product at that time when I was there was Windows 7, long time ago. They have many other versions coming out. Why? And every man in the room should not be offended now. The user interface was developed by a pure female team. Because, where do you click with the mouse? Which is the interaction? There is more empathy that female have, to really understand, what would be good, what wouldn't be so good. So one of the most, if not the most successful product when I left, was done with really a 100% female team. So for us, again, in Meta, it's the same story. We need to cater to our audiences. So we have very, very diverse team. And we have also very clear numbers when we hire. We have very clear numbers when we go on panels. We never go on panels which are not, seated equally. And I think it's super, super important that it comes from the top. We had a great role model in Sheryl Sandberg, of course. That helped. She's gone now, but we have other role models, Nadlikala and other great female leaders in the company that are really making the difference. And of course, what you said, creating the trust, but also giving the confidence that the woman can do an amazing job is super, super important. And for us, catering to 3.9 billion monthly active users and 3 billion on Facebook every single day. That's every second person on the planet communicating on Facebook every day. You have to have good products who cater to a diverse audience.
I heard your head of Europe speak earlier this week, Nicola Mendelsohn, isn't it? Yeah, she was amazing. She was amazing. You're very lucky to have her leading the company in Europe. For the efficiency of microphones, I'm going to stay with you, Angie, for your question. So again, I said we would leap around a little bit maybe on some of the topics. So we've talked about building diverse teams. Angie, I know from a meta perspective, given the sort of complexity of your business, which is very interesting, I think, for everybody in this room, one of the roles that you play is about empowering people, whether that be through setting up a business or communicating, whatever it happens to be. So what's the role that Meta plays in your mind from an empowerment point? That's really hard to say. Empowerment point of view. Blah, blah, blah.
A big one. A big one, because that's one of the reasons why after Microsoft, HP, and then supervisory boards, I decided to join Meta 4 years ago. Because I really had the feeling to give everybody a voice, and connecting people is not something you walk in the hallway in any other company and it's a nice poster, very well designed, and then you reach the 8th floor and it's forgotten. So really, we live that, connecting the people. I just told you the numbers. So for everybody, not only female, we offer, of course, the reach of the platform. We offer them, to make aware of their product, of their company, with all the people we have on the platform. Think about COVID. I mean, for many, many businesses, and not only female-led businesses, for many, many businesses, our platform was a lifeline, because they could do the offline shop that they have, they could put them in Facebook or Instagram shops very, very, very quickly. So first of all, the reach is great. The ROI is great. There's a Berkeley study coming out. For every dollar spent on the platform, they get $3.37 back. So it's really good ROI. But also, if you look at equality topics that we have, you give them a voice. You really give them a voice on the platform. And last but not least, and I promise I stop here, I was, as well as you just mentioned, you had this incident on Davos. Let me tell you my incident. So we were at the wonderful, wonderful breakfast with amazing females that we had last year, but we didn't stay in contact. It was like, I see you for dinner, I see you for drinks. You know that feeling? Yeah, give me your card, whatever. So we didn't do that. And I said, ladies, why don't we just set up a really nice WhatsApp group with a crazy name? And we can immediately connect. And if somebody of us needs help, we just shoot out and say, hey, do you have 5 minutes? And if you have 15 female on that WhatsApp group, you can be sure somebody has 5 minutes to listen to your topic. Or connect in Facebook group. So really the power of connection, that's why I'm sitting here and talking pretty energetic about the platform and also the opportunity for females.
Thank you. And you're right, those serendipitous conversations you have that are fostered at places like this, what it's all about, as well as the business connections and meetings that we all have. Thank you for that, Angie. Okay, Kriti, I'm going to come to you next. So Thomson Reuters, very interesting company. Maybe when you start answering the question, you can just perhaps give the breadth of Thomson Reuters, because I imagine people don't really appreciate, they'll know the Reuters name, but not necessarily the breadth and depth of what the business does. So maybe talk to that a little bit. But I want to come to you to talk about AI, particularly as we think about AI ethics and developing AI tools for societal impact. It's been a big topic here this week. I'm sure you've had the chance to read a lot of the announcements that companies have made. It seems like every day, or reports they've launched. But really thinking about how we use these tools to bridge the gap and ensure equal access to opportunities for everyone.
Great. So I'll give you a little bit of a story. By the way, just turned 35, so I hope I still have a chance to stay in the tech field and the other 50%. But I'll give you a bit of context to how I got started in the world of AI. And I began when I was 13. I built my own robot. It solved a very important problem for the world. It fetched Snickers, a candy, from the snack bar at 3 p.m. every day. I tell you this story because my parents are very proud of me that I do better things with my life now. I
like that thing from when you were 13.
I've built a lot of robots and machines over time, but now over the last 5 to 10 years, I've really put in a lot of effort into using AI disproportionately to solve problems for social good. And part of that, my role at Thomson Reuters is bringing access to legal justice, legal services to people around the world, bringing down barriers to access to justice, to fair information that you mentioned with the news. And also a few years ago, I did the most amazing and the most terrifying thing ever, founded AI for Good, where we build AI tools for social impact. And the reason I'm giving you all of this context is because my journey into using technology disproportionately for positive impact started from a pretty embarrassing story. So I used to write code a lot competitively as well in open source competitions, and I used to contribute online. And I found often I would get questions like, oh, what makes you think you're qualified to contribute code here or answer this question or solve this problem? And I was like, well, I've got a couple degrees in computer science. I've built useless robots my whole life, so I guess it's okay. And then I did a very embarrassing experiment. I changed my profile with that of a cat with a jetpack on it, because I'm cool. And changed my name to something just quite vanilla, and those comments disappeared, and my code was accepted so much more. So what happened is a cat with a jetpack on it found more credibility in the world of computing than a woman with 2 degrees in computer science. And so that really woke me up to what we can do with technology by bringing in people from many different backgrounds. And now, fast forwarding to AI, what I'm very, very excited about is the workforce and the skills we need now and in the coming times is not the ones that I have necessarily. Like, you need, hopefully, some people who have my sort of skills, but also those who understand empathy and emotional intelligence and reasoning and imagination, those human skills that we can combine with machines to solve meaningful problems. I used to write code in 17 programming languages but barely spoke human. And now we are living in a time where machines are learning to write code, and quite well. You know, we are seeing efficiency of 40–50% in programmers by using and working alongside AI tools. So what we really need is the non-machine skills. And so this is why I'm very, very excited about groups like these, where people bring many different perspectives, and the future will be created not just by geeks like me. So that's my hope with AI and the future we're going to build.
Thank you. I love that. I love everyone's got a story. My story, to build on that, from your cat story, is that I hope she won't mind me saying this. I've got a colleague who's in sales, has been in sales for a very long time in the technology space. She was probably the only woman in her team when she first started in the industry. Her name is Andrea, but she goes by Andy professionally because it opened more doors. And I think that's desperately sad when we have to change our identity, whether it be to a cat or to a man's name. So thank you for that. Thank you. Sara, I'm going to come to you. So I teach up as an astronaut, which is true. I think are there any other astronauts in the room? Just curious? No. No, just checking. So when I saw you on this panel and I read your bio and I could work out roughly how old you were, I mean, what an incredible story. And I think probably space, in its broadest sense, is one of the, and this is my perception, so do correct me if I'm wrong, one of the most male-dominated industries, perhaps, that there is. That's certainly the feeling. And you've got many firsts to your name. I'm just going to read some of these for the room. First Egyptian citizen in space, first Arab woman in space, and first African woman in space. So I'm really interested to hit, yeah, I think that needs a round of applause, doesn't it? Thank you. Yeah. Yeah. So in a sector that is so undiverse, how do you bring inclusion? Because, I mean, you're a flag waver for it, but it has to be about more than you.
Yeah, it's been, all my life it has been like that. And I think a lot of the women here who are working in tech and working in a lot of other industries, it's most of the time it has been that way, where you're the only female in the meeting, you're the only female in the group, and in your team, and everything. And it's just something that you have to look at and just like kind of in the moment accept and kind of like not use that as a negative and just kind of try to do the work. Like, I've always believed in just doing the work, and even though there was a lot of misconceptions about me at the beginning when I was doing my studies, because I was also working part-time, and I wasn't spending all of my time in the lab because I had to work. And so there was a lot of ideas that, I wouldn't be able to perform as well, also because I'm a woman and because I'm not in the lab 24/7. So there was also like a two-sided thing where you just kind of have to take it in and kind of like use it as fuel, sometimes I say, and kind of let that drive you as well. And it's not and it's unfortunate that it is the case that you're always, most of the time, the only woman in the team. But I think it's about what you do with that afterwards. And I think it's really important to look at those meetings and kind of include more women in them. And what we do at DSI is exactly that. So we're trying to increase access in the space field for everyone around the world. And it doesn't matter what your nationality is, doesn't matter where your passport is from, doesn't matter where you're located, doesn't matter how much resources you have. And gender means absolutely nothing. Like, it's really, it is just about the work. It's just, if you do the work, it doesn't matter if you're a cat with a jetpack. It doesn't matter if you're Andy or Andrea. It's just really about the work. And we have developed a system internally where, like, we have a threshold, like a point system, and the name doesn't matter, the location doesn't matter. But what we've seen in the end, how we do research, we do research projects. We have about 37 research projects that are ongoing. And the teams that we've been able to reach, so they're like, I think we have more than 28 nationalities from all over the world, and there are a lot of women. And we didn't even look at the gender when we were like accepting people. So it really does show that you can have equality if you're not looking at how many, whether or not, if that's not a basis, or that's not like a criteria for before you are accepting someone. So, and the results of the teams that we've seen throughout the years is really the people who are sticking with the programs and really creating the best results. And I'm not even just saying that as a woman or like I'm a huge feminist. It's really not that. The quality of work that I've seen, and it's really not a biased thing, but I have seen such high quality work from the teams that are all women. It is so incredible to see when they're presenting so we have milestone meetings every 4 months, and each person has to present each team has to present for 5 minutes, and you see the quality of the slides, like the symmetry of, I have OCD.
Feel proud.
So, like, it's just, and you do really see the commitment, the hard work, and what I've seen also throughout the years when we're constantly growing the team, so we're constantly recruiting more people to join our core team, and I've seen, and we're recruiting for leadership positions as well. So whenever I'm interviewing someone, I always see men selling themselves. They sell themselves so well, and you're like thinking, oh wow, like that's such an incredible CV, amazing. And then women are underselling themselves, and you have to really look at the projects that they've worked on and really pull the information from them. So when you're interviewing them, they're not really selling themselves. They're really underselling themselves. And that's been my experience with interviewing people. It's really, you have to really, and then what have you done? Like, but tell me more about this. So you have to really ask the questions really actively. Whereas with the male applicants, there wasn't really the case. They would really like tell me everything, even more, and then the results would not be and the results wouldn't be as, I know it's bad to say this, but like it's really my experience. It's not a general comment, and it's not like I don't want to generalize this for all women and men. They're both incredible, but I think depending on what you need in these positions, for leadership positions, my experience has been that way. But it doesn't have to mean that way in all positions, doesn't have to mean that way in all fields. It's just my personal experience. And so what we actively are trying to do is continue doing that and continue giving access and continue really pushing for pulling that and really trying to, so what we do as well is we try to help one another internally, like really connect one another. And what I've been trying to do with them too is how do you sell yourself a little bit better? You need to be kind of taking a step back, and what if you were reading the story about someone else? Would you be impressed? Would you feel like, wow, this is an incredible CV? If it wasn't you, you would. And I'm at fault at this too. Like, I'm never really, satisfied with what I do. I'm always trying to do harder. I also have imposter syndrome, but you can't really let that get to you. Like, it's really what you do with it. So I think we shouldn't be taking that as an excuse as well to not push harder. Not at all. That's not what I mean at all. But I think we have to understand that we all have these doubts. It's just what you do about them in the end. And we have to help one another.
Yeah, absolutely. Your words matter. I'm in comms, so words matter every day for me. But to your point about, reading resumes and CVs, I evaluated a friend's one. She just wanted an objective view. and she was using such passive words to describe her role and what she did. And I just crossed them all out, and she was things like supported, blah blah blah, or part of the team that did. I'm like, no, you weren't. You led the team. Put that you led the team. So I think it's that words that matter much more. So, okay, we've got about 5 minutes left. So I'm going to do a sort of kind of ask some closing thoughts from each of you around this week. It's easy to feel disheartened about women in tech particularly. Doesn't feel it in this room, that's for sure. So I'm curious to think about whether you're feeling optimistic or pessimistic about the future, particularly as you come out of Davos, which is a time to think and reflect for all of us. So Angie, let me start with you, as you've got the mic.
Well, I have been in the field of female empowerment for quite a while. And I think the improvements we're making are very slow and pretty tiny, if I may be honest. And why? I think we're always thinking like there is one magic powder or one silver bullet to solve this. And I'm not a believer in that. I think it has to be a couple things that need to be fixed. Politics, I talk about Germany. The politicians think if they give everybody a kindergarten place, then the job is done. They don't forget when the school starts, this is when the hard piece for working females is starting. What I'm going to do with homework, what I'm going to do, taking care of the kids in the afternoon. So that's the first thing. The second thing, if you go to companies, what do? First of all, you get maternity leave, which is great. What do companies do? They take away your PC, your phone, your badge, your company car, and then they wonder, after 12 months when they call you, do you want to come back? You might not say, yes, sure, because, I felt so included all the time. Of course I'm going to come back, and I'm going to step in on Monday. What time shall I be in the office? Socially, and I'm not hurting anybody here from the male side of the house, it's social, really not really accepted that, the man stays home. He's not the breadwinner, and the female does the career. Let's see in the Nordics how many strollers with men you see in the Nordics in the park versus in other parts of the countries. And last but not least, it's all on us, all the female, to step up, to better sell themselves. If there is a job behind the door and you walk up the steps, a guy pushes the door and said, "That's a new job, more power, more money," and he just takes it. We as women, we take the steps very, very slowly. Am I good enough? What am I doing if I fail? Can I really do this, with my family? I'm pretty happy with my job right now. We close the door and we walk backwards. So that's my little summary.
Perfect.
Yes, I'm happy
Angie.
we talk about this, but I would be even more happy if these 4 parties come together and do a plan and execute.
Brilliant. Thanks, Angie. Sara, optimism or pessimism from your point of view?
This week I've met so many incredible superwomen, honestly. Yeah. So for me, I'm always an optimistic person. I'm always trying to think that we can always do something about it. And I think as to whether we are doing something, yes, we are slow. Are we really seeing more in the space field, especially because that's where I work? A little bit more, and I'm seeing more women being more vocal about it. And I think we are at a point where we're talking about this in Davos, we're talking about this more and more. And I'm seeing also a lot of industries where, even in Formula One or here and there, they are talking about it. So I think the optimism comes from the realization that there is a problem, that we shouldn't be just looking at the numbers, we need to be actively doing something in terms of, starting from the very beginning with education, with culture, with socialism, with a lot of different things. So there is a little bit of optimism in the fact that we're talking about the problem. And then I think the next step is needing to take action and not just talking about it. So
brilliant. Thank you, Sara. Okay, Kriti and Leah, if we can have some quick answers because we're nearly at time.
I'm with Sara, very optimistic, but I also think we need to make a disproportionate amount of effort for, specifically with AI, that we do not automate more jobs at the bottom end of the pyramid where we worked super hard to create more equality, and we have much room and a lot of work to do to bring women higher up, right? So a ton of work to do. Let's not sit on our laurels and be complacent about it. There's a huge amount of opportunity. And I just really hope that the world we create with AI is a better one than what we've done in the past.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, if you listen to all the problems, you could become pessimistic, but that's, in my point of view, the wrong way. We have to be optimistic. I am optimistic when I look at all of you. My wish to all of you is be role models, create role models, act in your circle of influence, because then we can make a better world, and that gives me a lot of optimism being here.
That's a beautiful, beautiful ending. I am going to ask one more question, because I asked this of the room before we kicked off the panel, because we were just filling a little bit of time, so we had a conversation. So one word to sum up your week in Davos. Leia.
Wow.
Okay. Perfect. Kriti?
Humbling.
Oh, I like that. Sara?
Unreal.
Oh, I like that. And Angie?
Inspiring.
Oh, perfect. Yeah, all very positive, just like the words we had from the room. So we are just nearly at time. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. I do have a few, some housekeeping things, but one other point to make as well. I think we're at a really exciting time. I've loved being in this room today. It's felt the most inclusive of anything I've done this week. So this is my last thing I'm doing in Davos, apart from going for pizza and beer tonight with my colleagues, which is important if we can get a table. But Rupa, I'm not. Where is she? I can't see her. But anyway, one of the points you made in your blog post on LinkedIn, teeing up for all of the activity this week, was, and this quote I really liked. It was very simple. It was, gender parity is an economic and productivity imperative. And I think everybody in this room is here supporting that today, and particularly these leaders that we have here with us alongside me. So we're wrapping up. One important housekeeping thing I've asked to tell you all is we do need to leave this room, unfortunately, because they're turning it over for another event a bit later on, so they need to change the setup. So if you don't mind leaving after this session, that would be great. Thank you. And thank you, everyone. Enjoy whatever you're doing tonight and tomorrow. Thank you.